Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming along.
So my name's Cameron. I'm Council's Sustainability Officer, and I've also got Christine here, who's Council's Tree Management Officer. I'm here to sort of tell you about what your long-lost cousins are kind of doing over the border. But I guess what was really important and what we sort of discussed this morning was that pollinators don't stop at borders or don't have COVID restrictions. So I'm going to discuss what we're doing. And it's really, for council, as an amalgamated council now from both Queanbeyan and Palerang, this is kind of our first real tree, holistic tree management kind of strategy. So this is kind of going to kick it all off for us. So what it is called is our vegetation and heat adaptation strategy. It was funded through the New South Wales Government Increasing Resilience to Climate Change Fund. So we got $42,000 to do this work, and we work mostly off grants. If we didn't have grants, we would never be able to get this done through traditional operating sort of payment costs. So the 5 main objectives of our strategy is to, firstly, is heat map the Queanbeyan Palerang LGA, get an understanding of what's actually happening out there, assess the climate vulnerability of our current urban trees, identify suitable future climate-ready trees which currently do not grow in the area, develop an urban forest and cooling strategy. We thought that adding the cooling component into the name was really important because people don't understand that an urban forest strategy has other components to it. And then we're also going to do some experimental pilot plantings of suitable future climate-ready trees. So this is our results from our surface heat mapping. So we utilised just a sort of basic Landsat 8 data thermal imagery. So the resolution wasn't overly great, but it gave us a good understanding still of what's occurring. And then from there we chose 35 control points within our native vegetation, natural areas, to represent the natural baseline temperature. And what we actually found is Googong was pretty much an entire urban heat island, so 99% fell within an urban heat island. 75% of that was a severe urban heat island. Similar for Bungendore, 99% urban heat island and 58% severe. Queanbeyan, 91% and 64% is severe. And Braidwood was our best performer and did really well. They only had 9% of their area was an urban heat island. Then we looked at some of the land use types and what the surface temperature was from those particular types. So bitumen came in as our hottest land use type, which is no surprise, 33 degrees, followed by industrial, residential, and then to irrigated grass and trees, which had about a 3-degree difference according to our study. Although it is to note that some studies have actually had a 10-degree difference between those types of land uses. I think for our case, it was down to the type of resolution that we used. It didn't really pick up those pinpoint accuracies that you need to distinguish between the two types. And this was some of our heat mapping that we did here. You can see Queanbeyan area here and the Googong area in here. And what was really interesting, it doesn't particularly have that much relevance for our urban forest strategy, is just how hot this area for our farmland, our non-irrigated grass areas were, because this was taken during that drought period of the 2018 to 2020. So it is a snapshot in time, but it was really, really interesting to just see how hot that landscape was from those drought conditions, as irrigated grass is pretty much similarly or nearly as hot as bitumen. And you can see Googong there and Queanbeyan. You can see that's Mount Jarrabombra, if anybody knows the area. The golf course there, because it's all irrigated grass, so it was very cool. And then on the left-hand side there we had Braidwood, which you can see has performed pretty well. It is down to, of course, it's not as a large urban centre like Queanbeyan or what Googong's going to be like, but still very interesting to note. And now the next step of it, and what we're currently doing, is assessing the climate vulnerability of our current urban trees. So we've piggybacked a lot off what Canberra's doing and what they did with ANU for their studies. So we looked at a variety of factors. Okay, what should we be looking at here? So we're going to look at drought tolerance, frost tolerance, extreme heat tolerance, shade type, weed potential, useful life expectancy, and irrigation requirement. So we went out to all our identified hotspot areas, which was pretty much everywhere, to try and, because at the moment we don't even have an audit of what trees currently grow there, so we don't know what's there. So we had to go out to those areas, identify what's growing there, and then undertake the assessments. So that was a big job. It was a day so far driving around in a car just identifying trees, and another day soon as well. So this is what we've kind of come up with as a initial list as well. So we've gone with a traffic light system. So green species are likely to perform well under future climate, so 2050, 2070 area. Orange or amber species likely to perform well, but have a few potential issues with it. And red species are species which are unlikely to perform well or are unsuitable. And what we've kind of not going to, we're going to provide a list, but we're not going to have a list which identifies the top 50 or the bottom 50 trees, as we think it's too variable depending on location. So what we're actually going to do is just have that list there. People can go to it, have criteria there which you can meet or which you don't meet. So that means your tree isn't suitable for those kinds of areas. The next thing we're going to do is actually identify suitable future climate-ready trees, which currently do not grow in the LGA. So we've actually used the CSIRO's got a really good tool online, and they're called climate analogs. So what you can do is you punch in where you are right now, and it gives you towns or LGAs which your area might look like in the next, say, 30 years, or it goes up to 2070 as well. So what we realise is, okay, the climate's obviously going to shift out to more of a Midwestern New South Wales kind of climate. So areas like Cootamundra, Wangaratta, Cowra, Shepparton, Wagga Wagga Young by 2050. 2070 was a bit further out again, more like Griffith, Dubbo, those kinds of areas. So we really want to look about what's currently growing there, what might be suitable now to start thinking about growing for our region. To do this, we're using Niche Finder, which is a Macquarie University tool, which identifies all the different native tree species which currently grow within those other Western sort of councils, and we'll be using that list to, we'll go through that list and see which ones might be suitable for our area. As for those non-native exotic trees, we will also be going out either talking to council themselves, maybe even a field trip, depending on budget, to see what's thriving there as well. And then I guess the most important part of this whole entire project is our urban forest and cooling strategy. So it's very much in its draft stage, as we're currently drafting it now, but as of now, this is the kind of draft that we have. We're going to have our first bit, we'll look at urban heat from more of an anthropocentric kind of centred view. The second is look at nature, and the third is climate mitigation. So as you all might know, that awareness is probably going to be our number one factor here for our community and our councillors as well. Reducing the urban heat will be our second task, and that will be like the ACT for our canopy covers and infrastructure, permeable infrastructure. But as you all know, we won't be able to completely remove the urban heat island. It's still going to be there in some way or another. So what do we do after that? Well, we're going to have to adapt. So how do we ensure that our community can thrive and respond to those heat days as well, or that heat island effect, which will be brought on, amplified further under climate change as well. So we need to look at things like how do we do we have climate refugees for housing? Can they go into a club or something like that with cool air conditioning or something along those lines? So it's how they adapt as well. The second part is to look at our natural urban environment and the ecosystems that exist within or interact within. Our second dot point there, is to enhance the biodiversity, which we've already got. And how do we ensure a sustainable and unpolluted water supply? Our third and another aspect of it is our climate mitigation. So we do have our climate action plans already, but ensuring how do we get out low carbon cities and towns and renewable energy resources to not further increase that urban heat island which currently exists. The last bit is as well to do some experimental pilot plantings of those plants that we identify from those Western LGAs. At the moment, we're looking at some appropriate sites for our LGA, and the first stage will be planting trees. We will then look at sort of your shrubs and your grasses as well in further stages. A big part of this is going to be ongoing monitoring. I know a lot of plants have been planted before for similar purposes but have never been monitored, so this is going to ensure that we monitor the plants that we plant for the next 10 to 15 or longer, 10 to 15 years. And we'll also be running them as community tree planting days, so it will be an opportunity for them to learn, collaborate and be involved. I'll hand over to Christine now to talk about some other aspects.
So hi everyone, I'm Christine Rampling. I'm the Tree Management Officer at Queanbeyan Palerang Regional Council. And I don't have a great deal to really add to what Cameron's already shared, but I just wanted to sort of drive home that yes, we are committed to these things, but we still have this standard, typical urban issues that we have to manage. And when we talk about awareness being the first step, with the community and with our councillors and our executive teams throughout the council, is actually having them come on board, because at the moment we are reactive in our tree management. There's nothing proactive that we do. The tiniest little bit maybe, but my main role is receiving complaints about trees. So, and it's actually quite disappointing really when you're somebody who is committed to these things personally and professionally, to just constantly be hit with the negativity of people who hate trees. And when they hate trees, I mean they hate trees. Like they are so angry. The amount of abuse that I cop, and Rachel would be well aware. I've been with council almost 18 months. I've had one semi-death threat, and just so threatening, like some of the behaviour, the standover, just the rage in these people. And trees are just so emotive. There's something about them, and I think everyone in every department at council will say, well, you know, every area of council cops that, like the planning area surely, but I really feel like people hate trees more than, and hate me more than the planners. So that's most of my complaints are about, I can't see turning around the corner, I can't see reversing my car out of the driveway, the trees growing into the street light, the trees cracking the path, the trees cracking the gutter, the trees dropping fruit on the road, the trees dropping fruit on my driveway. So I kind of look at these plans, these urban strategies, and I think, how are we going to achieve this when we are so up against just such negativity? So I haven't lost faith though. I think we're going to get there. And I think it's things like these maps, these visuals, where the councillors can go, oh my God, all of Googong is a heat island. And it'll have them go, like, my nana lives out there, like, and she's literally in danger in summer. Like, it's that serious. So yeah, we've got to think about all these things. Another area of tree management is claims. So it has to be proven that council's been negligent in some way for somebody to be successful with a claim. And it can come down to what policies we have in place for tree selection. So if we say, for instance, and sorry, liquid ambers, but liquid ambers are known for having robust. And I love changing the language. People always say aggressive, and I say they're opportunistic. Like, they're really, really vigorous trees. So if we go ahead and plant a whole heap of liquid ambers along a street that's only got a verge width like this, we've got these tiny little hawthorns here on, is that Surveyor Street? I think it might be. If we put liquid ambers in there, we would have a very difficult time 20 years from now denying liability for a claim to fix somebody's driveway or retaining wall because we knew better. So that's all I really wanted to sort of say about this. So if somebody says, and it's so driven by the community, right? So if everybody's just ringing up saying how much they hate trees, all I can do is respond. But if I get inundated with requests to plant trees or, I don't know, run educational days about trees or install habitat boxes, then that's what I really need to get people on board. So if anyone lives in Queanbeyan, Palerang, request a tree to be planted. So yeah, when I think about planting for pollinators, I just go, how the heck are we going to do it? I want to do it and I'm committed to doing it. But the amount of complaints I get for petals dropping and fruit dropping, it's just such a big job. Yeah.